The morning sun filters through the tall, sterile windows of the courthouse, casting long shadows on the polished marble floor. It should feel ordinary, calm even, but the air is thick with tension. Kody Brown sits at the front, his hands clasped so tightly that his knuckles are almost white. The room hums with quiet murmurs, the shuffle of papers, and the creak of a swinging door somewhere far away. It's supposed to be just another legal proceeding. But today is different. Today, the secrets of a family that's already lived under the public eye are about to explode under the unforgiving light of the law. Christine sits beside him, her expression unreadable, yet every line in her face screams careful, controlled fury. Her lips are pressed so tightly together that you almost expect them to crack. She's always been the one to keep composure, but even she knows this is more than a routine meeting in court. Robyn sits a few rows behind them, clutches her folder with trembling hands, and casts furtive glances sideways at the others, calculating and waiting for just the right moment to strike with words that sting. Meri leans against the seat. Her eyes have glazed over with a mixture of worry and quiet anger. Janelle twists her hair with a nervous hand as she bites the inside of her cheek, and her mind goes faster than she can control. The judge enters, and the room is silent, a heavy, suffocating silence. Every footstep echoes, every rustle of the paper is amplified. Kody shifts in his seat, exhaling slowly, his heart hammering. The reality of this courtroom, solemn and serious, is now beginning to sink in. It's no longer about disagreements at home, about whispered arguments behind closed doors. This is formal, legal, public, and every eye in this room is watching, waiting for that first spark to ignite this storm. Opening statements begin, and the voice of the prosecuting attorney cuts sharply through that tension. Your Honor, today you will hear about betrayals, about broken trust, and about decisions that have endangered not only the sanctity of a family, but the well-being of its members. This case is not merely legal, it is a moral reckoning. His words hang in the air, heavy, almost suffocating, as if the walls themselves are leaning in to listen. Kody's stomach twists. Every accusation feels like a dagger aimed at the heart of the family he's worked so hard to keep together. Christine leans forward slightly, her sharp gaze fixed on the attorney, her jaw tight. There's a flicker of defiance in her eyes, the same fire that's carried her through years of public scrutiny and private pain. Robyn swallows hard, her mind racing through everything that led them here. The whispered conversations, the lies, the secrets that were supposed to stay buried. The defense begins their statement, and the tone shifts immediately. Calm, measured, almost eerily composed, Kody's attorney lays out a picture of a family struggling, not scheming, of misunderstandings that escalated beyond their control. We are not here to deny the challenges, Your Honor, he says. We are here to show context, to show that this family, though unconventional, has always acted with care, with intention, and with love, even when those actions are misunderstood or misinterpreted. At this, Robyn's shoulders drop a notch, though tension still coils tightly around her. She knows this is only just the beginning. Every word, every pause, every furtive glance around the room is a chess move in an intense game where emotions and facts collide. Janelle twists her bracelet continuously, her eyes darting between her husband and the others. It's impossible to tell what will happen next, and that's almost worse than the accusations themselves. The first witnesses are called forward. Christine rises, moving with a quiet elegance that belies the storm inside her. She speaks clearly, each word carefully measured. "I have always tried to protect my family," she says, voice steady, but eyes glistening with unspilled tears. "But there are times when protection is not enough. There are times when truth must come out, even if it hurts." She pauses, letting the weight of her words hang in the air. Kody watches her, a mixture of admiration and fear in his eyes. The rest of the room leans in, captivated, because Christine has always been a voice of reason. But today, that reason carries the power of revelation. Then it's Meri's turn. Less confrontational, quieter. But her words pierce the room like shards of glass. "I have stayed silent for too long," she confesses in a voice barely above a whisper, yet sharp with emotion. "I have seen things, felt things, and I cannot stay quiet anymore, neither for my own peace nor for the truth." Her admission sends a ripple through the courtroom. Heads turn, glances exchanged. Secrets that have simmered for years are surfacing, layer by fragile layer. As the morning progresses, tensions rise. Robyn takes the stand next, and the atmosphere shifts dramatically. She's passionate, emotional, defensive, but also precise. Her testimony paints a vivid picture of the fractures within the family, of moments of betrayal, of decisions made in the shadows. "I wanted to believe in unity," she says, her voice trembling. "But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes truth demands exposure." Her words find resonance, echoing in the minds of everyone in the room. The quiet murmur of disbelief, of suppressed anger fills the air as Kody fidgets in his seat, unable to stop the knot of fear tightening in his chest. The next to speak is Janelle, and the courtroom changes once more. She blends invulnerability with fortitude, acknowledging mistakes and letting them know how it feels to live under constant scrutiny. "We are not perfect," she says, her voice shaking but firm. "We've made choices, and we've suffered for them. But we are human, and humans falter." Her words soften some faces in the courtroom, while simultaneously opening new wounds. Each wife's story, layered upon the others, creates a mosaic of pain, loyalty, deception, and love that no one could have imagined. The camera pans, if this were television, between testimonies, capturing the subtle signs of strain. Kody's hand trembles slightly as he readjusts his tie. Christine's eyes dart momentarily toward the gallery, perhaps seeking an ally, perhaps fearing judgment. Robyn bites her lip in a struggle to keep composure. Janelle's foot taps lightly against the floor, a nervous rhythm that betrays her outer calm. And then there is Meri in silence, yet powerful, her gaze drifting across the room in silent question. Who will survive this emotional battlefield? By mid-afternoon, the first pieces of evidence are brought in. Letters, text messages, photographs, proof of secret conversations, silent pacts, and decisions that have kept family members awake for years. The room erupts in stifled gasps and murmurs, but every face is a story. The judge's expression remains unmoved, but even he cannot conceal the slight narrowing of his eyes as he listens to the growing complexity of the case. At the end of the session, tensions are higher than ever. Glances are exchanged between the wives, speaking volumes without a word, suspicion, hurt, and the nagging question of loyalty. Kody lets out a slow, almost imperceptible breath, aware that this courtroom drama is just getting started. The outside world waits, oblivious to the storms brewing behind closed doors. Inside, every heartbeat, every whispered thought, reverberates like the beat of a drum in this theater of judgment. And then, just as the gavel is about to signal a recess, a surprise twist. Some hitherto unknown witness steps into the room and the entire focus has shifted. Eyes go wide, hearts pound, and a new layer of tension slithers through the air. What will they reveal? And how will it affect the fragile balance of this family under siege. The courtroom resumes, but the mood has changed. The air is heavier, almost charged, as if every corner of the room were bracing for the storm that's going to break. Kody's hands are still shaking. He conceals it behind the shiny surface of the table. The wives sit rigid, each lost in the thought that threatens to break their composure. Outside, sunlight streams through the tall windows, but inside, long shadows fall across the polished wood floors as surely as the tension does, reflecting the uncertainty of what is going to be said. The surprise witness from the last session stepped forward, their eyes flitting nervously across the room before landing on Kody. Every breath they took seemed magnified. The courtroom was suddenly aware of the quiet power in their presence. Christine leaned forward slightly, her gaze sharp and calculating, while Robyn's hand tightened around the folder in her lap. Janelle's lips pressed into a thin line, and Meri shifted slightly in her seat, every muscle taut with anticipation. The witness clears their throat, and the courtroom falls into a silence that's all but unbearable. "I wasn't going to talk," they begin in a low, sure voice, "because I knew the consequences might shatter this family. But some truths can no longer be buried." The words fall like precisely placed hammer blows to cold steel. Eyes widen in shock, eyes widen in fear as the weight of revelation begins to set in. The first bombshell drops when a secret conversation between Kody and one of the wives, previously undisclosed, is revealed. The contents of the conversation hint at plans and promises made behind closed doors, ones that may have deeply hurt others in the family. Robyn's face has drained of color as she whispers, barely audible, "I knew it," as the room shifts together. Christine's jaw clenches, her eyes narrowing as she gazes at the witness with a mix of disbelief and silent anger. Kody rises slightly, his voice trembling enough to give away his nervousness. I never meant for anyone to be hurt," he says, sincere but faltering. "Every decision I made was complicated. I thought I was protecting everyone." But the words ring hollow against testimony just laid bare. The wives exchange silent glances, some support, some judgments, some unspoken fear. It's clear nothing will ever be quite the same. The courtroom erupts as the attorney for the witness introduces new evidence. Text messages, photos, and emails that corroborate testimony. It is a tale of continued tension, behind-the-scenes decisions, and emotional betrayals that ripple through the family. Janelle's white-knuckled grasp clutches the edge of her chair. While Meri's eyes glisten with tears, she refuses to let fall. Christine sat perfectly still, her hands upon the table, but her knuckles were tight, her jaw muscles flexing as she absorbed the shock. Robyn's head leaned slightly to one side, her mind racing to put together everything she was seeing for the first time. The tone again changes in the courtroom as the judge interjects, his voice calm but authoritative. "I remind everyone, this is a court of law. Emotions are expected, but we must focus on facts. That said, the evidence presented here today is serious and will be weighed carefully." His words hang in the air, a reminder of the high stakes. Yet the emotional weight of the revelations cannot be contained by procedural calm. The air vibrates with tension, silent but unmistakable. As the witness proceeds, the stories deepen, exposing grudges nurtured for years and painful memories. Each wife has a different reaction, which creates a tapestry of emotion and conflict. Christine is sharp, her tone slicing through the courtroom. "I have been loyal, and I am constantly undermined. I trusted, and I was betrayed." She speaks with deliberation, her words cutting through the tension like a knife. Robyn's voice catches on every word as she recalls the moments of betrayal she silently endured for the sake of peace. Janelle breaks down briefly, confessing to her feelings of helplessness in the storm of family conflict. There is quiet sorrow in Meri, her words measured, yet loaded with emotional power. Kody's attorney stands to cross-examine the witness, his voice firm, controlled. "Can you confirm the context of these messages?" he asks, his body weight forward, his eyes locked onto the witness. "Were they discussed with anyone else? Are these interpretations accurate?" The witness meets his eyes, unwavering. "The context is irrelevant," they reply, their voice steady. "What matters is the truth. And the truth is here." The courtroom falls silent once more, the words echoing in every mind present. The tension builds as the defense puts forward Kody's view. His voice cracks with strain, a mixture of desperation and pleading. "I tried to do my best. Every choice I made was with intention, with care. If mistakes were made, they were never meant to hurt anyone." The faces in the room divide. Some soften with empathy, others harden with disbelieving expressions. The drama lies not just in the legal arguments, but in the raw, human emotions unraveling with every passing moment. The camera would linger outside the formal proceedings, on subtle body language. Christine tapping her finger against the desk, the rapid staccato of frustration. Robyn clenching her jaw, fighting back tears. Meri's hands folded tightly in her lap, trembling slightly. Janelle rocking forward, leaning into the chair as if bracing for impact. Kody sits frozen, caught between fear, regret, and hope. The emotional intensity is almost unbearable, yet no one dares to look away. Midway through the session, an unsigned letter is introduced as evidence. The contents are mysterious, hinting at another layer of deception that no one in the room expected. The wives glance around at each other, wide-eyed in disbelief. Murmurs ripple through the courtroom like water, the tensions spiking with every word revealed. "Who could have written this?" Janelle whispers under her breath, barely audible. Robyn swallows hard, her mind whipping through possibilities. Christine leans forward, lips pressed tightly together, her mind cataloging every potential threat to her carefully constructed world. The tension builds to almost unbearable levels when the surprise witness continues to drop bombshells, a revelation that implicates not only decisions made behind closed doors, but challenges the integrity of Kody's choices in ways that could have lasting consequences on the entire family. Kody's hands shake slightly as he clings to the edge of the table. Swallowing hard, he realizes even his words, carefully measured to improve his position, may not be enough. Suppressed gasps, quiet murmurs, and the occasional sharp intake of breath fill the courtroom. The judge's face remains impassive, but not even he can conceal the almost imperceptible narrowing of his eyes as he digests the weight of evidence and testimony piling on before him. Individually and collectively, the wives teeter in a vortex of emotions. Feelings of betrayal, sorrow, anger, and fear grip each as she struggles to present a composed veneer while, inside, she fights against the unfolding drama. As the session draws to a close, the gavel falls with a sharp, echoing bang, signaling a recess. The wives rise slowly, each carrying the invisible weight of what has just been revealed. Kody exhales, his shoulders slumping with a mixture of relief and dread. The sun is higher in the sky, but the light filtering through the courthouse windows cannot cut through the storm brewing within these walls. And then, just before they leave, a whispered conversation between two of the wives suggests there may well be another secret yet to come to light in the next session. The words are low, almost lost to anyone not actually listening for them, but the tension they create is palpable. "You think this is over?" One whispers, "We've only just begun." The second day of proceedings begins, and the room is tense. The courthouse feels smaller somehow, each wall pressing in with the weight of unspoken truths. Kody sits quietly, though every muscle in his body betrays his anxiety. His fingers drum a rapid, almost nervous rhythm on the polished wooden table. Christine leans forward, sharp eyes scanning the room, her jaw tight with anticipation. Robyn sits upright, her gaze fixed on the judge, but her mind running in 1,000 directions, replaying every revelation from yesterday. Janelle fidgets, her fingers twisting a napkin as she waits for the next bombshell to drop. Meri sits back slightly, her posture rigid, silently preparing herself for whatever comes next. The judge calls the session to order, his gavel striking sharply and cutting through the tense silence. "We will continue with testimonies," he says in a calm tone but with a commanding voice. The court expects full disclosures from all parties. The first witness of the day takes the stand, and the room falls silent. Today, the hidden conflicts, the decisions made in privacy, and the consequences that have slowly eroded trust will be under the spotlight. The voice of the witness is steady, laced with emotion. "I have watched this family struggle," the witness says. "I have seen promises broken, alliances formed in secret, and the quiet suffering of those who love deeply yet are ignored." Christine reacts in an instant, hunching forward into a near-aggressive lean. "I have never wanted to hurt anyone," she interrupts, voice strained but powerful. "I have tried to hold this family together, even when the foundation beneath us seemed to crumble." Her words are not merely a defense, but a plea, a raw confession of guilt and desperation. It is now Robyn's turn. She rises, her hands grasping the edge of the stand as if it's the only thing holding her up. Her voice is quivering but squares with each word. "I've held back for years," she says, "because I wanted peace, but silence has a cost. The lies, the secrets, they don't just disappear. They fester, and they hurt everyone, whether they realize it or not." Her eyes flick to Kody, momentarily seeking a response, a glimmer of acknowledgement. But he doesn't flinch, a man determined to hold on to his composure in the face of emotional scrutiny. Janelle takes the stand, and the room shifts once more. Her voice is softer, almost hesitating at first, but the emotion beneath is unmistakable. "I love this family, but love isn't always enough," she says. "I have made mistakes. We all have. But some mistakes linger longer than others, leaving scars that can't be ignored." She pauses, letting her words take hold, the silence making the weight of her confession heavier. Every eye in the courtroom follows her every movement, inexorably drawn to the vulnerability she cannot hide. Meri speaks next, and the atmosphere becomes increasingly heavier. Her testimony is calm, precise. But beneath the surface lies a torrent of emotion barely restrained. "I have been quiet, but quiet is not the same as acceptance," she says. "I have seen the betrayals, the manipulations, the moments when loyalty was demanded but never given. And now I must speak, because truth cannot be silenced forever." Her words cut sharply, and the room responds with a mix of shock and silent recognition. Even the judge's stoic expression shows a subtle tightening around the eyes. The session escalates as the defense rises to cross-examine the witnesses. Kody's attorney is firm but measured, attempting to deflect the growing tension with logic and reason. "Can you explain to me the timeline of these events?" he asks, his voice calm but insistent. "Were there miscommunications? Were their intentions taken out of context?" The witnesses answer with precision, their emotions occasionally breaking through and revealing layers of tension and resentment that have been brewing for years. A dramatic turn comes when a set of previously unseen letters and messages are brought into evidence. They detail secret communications between Kody and some of the wives, which absolutely contradict the notion built thus far. The letters insinuate promises made and then broken, plans kept hidden, and manipulation on a level no one could have assumed. Robyn's eyes go wide in incredulity, and she utters in whispered disbelief, "I can't believe this." Christine purses her lips, a tempest brewing behind her controlled exterior. Janelle's hands slightly shake as she digests the implications, and Meri's calm exterior cracks, showing flickers of anger and sorrow. The courtroom becomes electric with anticipation, every movement amplified. Kody fidgets in his seat, aware that the weight of evidence is tipping the scales of perception. The tension is palpable, almost suffocating, as every member of the family processes the unfolding drama. The judge observes quietly, his gavel ready but his face unreadable, while the audience, both in the room and hypothetically watching, feels the gravity of each revelation. The unexpected emotional confrontation strikes mid-session. Christine whips her head at Kody, her eyes ablaze. "How could you keep this from us?" she asks, her voice cracking with anger and heartbreak. Kody swallows hard as he searches for words to mend the damage. I thought I was protecting you," he responds. He says, voice trembling, "I never wanted anyone to get hurt." However, the words fall flat against growing evidence of secrecy and manipulation. Robyn steps forward, her voice trembling with controlled fury. "Protection? You call this protection?" she asks. "We were lied to. We were kept in the dark while decisions were made that affected all of us. How is this protection?" Her words reverberate across the room, a chorus of frustration and betrayal that resonates deeply within all present. It gets to the emotional climax of the session when a video recording is presented as evidence. It shows private conversations, raw and unfiltered, capturing confrontation that no one had expected to see. It shows, in these captured moments, the pain, the arguments, and the emotional manipulation that has been carefully kept from public view. Christine's hand flies to her mouth in disbelief. Robyn's eyes fill with tears, and she blinks them back. Janelle's legs shake as she absorbs the confrontation. Meri's quiet breathing hints at the turmoil inside. Even Kody's composure falters as he realizes that private moments are now public evidence, irreversible and undeniable. The tension in the room is palpable as the court takes a brief recess. The wives rise, gathering their belongings, each movement slow with emotional weight. The air is thick with speculation among hushed whispers on what may yet be revealed in future sessions. "This isn't over," Christine says softly. "It's only just beginning." The courthouse feels heavier than ever as the fourth session begins. The air is thick with anticipation, each heartbeat amplified in the silent room. Kody sits rigid, hands gripping the table, knuckles white, eyes darting nervously toward the gallery. The wives are poised but tense, each carrying the weight of yesterday's revelations and bracing for the storm ahead. Today, nothing will remain hidden, and every emotion, rage, sorrow, betrayal hangs like a storm cloud over this family. With a crisp strike of the gavel, the judge calls the session to order. His action slicing through the tension like a knife. "We shall proceed with the testimonies," he intones. "Let all parties be reminded to make sure their speaking is truthful and complete." The words were almost ceremonial, but the weight of them pressed upon everybody in the room. In walks the first witness, an old family friend whose perspective completely changes the dynamics. His voice is as calm as it could be, almost serene, but each word carries its weight in the gravity of truth. I have known this family through years of joy, conflict, and private turmoil, he says. And what I see now is a web of secrets that threatens to unravel everything they have built. Christine leans forward sharply, her eyes ablaze. I have always fought for transparency, she cries out, her voice shaking with controlled fury. And yet, here we are, exposed for decisions that were never ours to make. Every secret, every hidden choice, has consequences we all bear. Her words cut through the courtroom, and even the judge flinches at the intensity of her emotion. Robyn gets up next, and her voice is almost fragile at first, but gains steel with every syllable. I have carried burdens in silence, she admits. I have swallowed lies to maintain peace, only to realize that silence is complicity. I cannot remain silent anymore. Her gaze locks on Kody for a brief moment, a mixture of hurt, accusation, and longing for an explanation. Kody swallows hard, the weight of the moment pressing down on him like a vice. Janelle steps to the stand, and the room shifts again. She is vulnerable, exposing raw emotions, carefully hidden behind smiles and measured words. I've tried to forgive, to forget, but some things cannot be undone, she says softly, voice breaking in places. We are human, and our mistakes have consequences that ripple through everyone's lives. Her words hang in the air, fragile and powerful, and the air feels electric with suspense. Next is Meri, quiet but unyielding. Her testimony is calm and articulate, yet the emotion behind the words is not hard to feel. I have seen loyalties tested and broken, she says. I have witnessed manipulation, promises made and then ignored, and a chain of decisions that has left scars deeper than most could see. One glance spans the room, silently challenging every lie, every half-truth spoken. The tension ramps up when the prosecution plays previously unheard audio recordings. Voices captured in moments of private conversations echo across the room. Arguments, whispered secrets, and confessions that no one could imagine would see the light of day. Robyn's face tightens, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Christine's hands fist. Janelle breathes shallowly, and even Kody shifts uncomfortably in his seat, caught between fear and desperation. The room shrinks under the weight of these revelations, and every sound is amplified. The scratching of pens, the shuffle of papers, the quiet gasp of an onlooker who can't believe what he's hearing. Every subtle gesture becomes magnified, the flicker of an eye, the tremor in a hand, the clench of a jaw. A shocking testimony ensues, one that implicates hidden alliances, betrayals even among the wives themselves. Christine's eyes widen in disbelieving horror. I can't believe, after everything, this is how it's come to this, she hisses between her teeth, her jaw set. Robyn's face sets, her calm replaced by simmering anger. Janelle looks like she may collapse, hands pressed to her face as the room spins around her. Meri sits back, silent, absorbing the emotional blow, her face unreadable, but her eyes stormy with unspoken fury. Kody's attorney rises to cross-examine, attempting to regain control, but it is too thick a tension to break. Are these interpretations fair? He asks, voice firm. Or is this courtroom now a stage for emotion rather than fact? The responses, though, only deepen the drama. Witness after witness peels back layer after layer of truth, and every word cuts into the fragile structure of family trust like a sledgehammer. The peak in emotion comes when a long-concealed diary, kept by one of the wives, is presented. Its pages speak of private thoughts, heartbreak, and internal turmoil, of a family fractured by secrets and fear. Robyn reads on, her voice trembling. I try to keep peace, but I can no longer do so. I fear what will happen if the truth is exposed. Yet I cannot live with the lies. The courtroom is silent, each person absorbing the raw honesty, the painful authenticity that had been hidden for so long. Christine reacts spontaneously and expressively. "How could you?" she protests, her eyes welling up with tears. "We were all this time living half-lives, pretending that everything was okay." The outburst echoes, the emotional intensity almost unbearable. Janelle's lips quiver as she admits, I didn't know how to say it. I was afraid." Meri nods silently, a tacit understanding of shared hurt. Kody sits frozen, eyes darting between the wives, understanding that control has slipped entirely. The carefully constructed image of unity and understanding is fractured, the pieces scattered across the courtroom floor. He opens his mouth, attempts to speak, but the weight of the revelations renders him momentarily mute. With a note, quietly handed by the bailiff to the judge, the session reaches a nail-biting cliffhanger. Nobody knows what it says, but the reaction of the wives makes it clear that it's something explosive, something that can turn the tide of the case. Eyes widen, breaths catch, and tension becomes almost unbearable. When the gavel calls for a recess, wives get up, their faces pale, their emotions raw. Kody lets out a slow exhalation, running a hand through his hair, knowing full well that the hours ahead may dictate not just the fate of the courtroom, but the future of the family itself. Outside, the courthouse is still. No one would suspect the battlefield of emotions being carried on inside its glass and concrete walls. Every whispered word, every glance, and every tear bears with it the weight of revelation yet to come. The last day of the courtroom drama begins with a virtual silence that is almost unbearable. The air is thick, filled with anticipation, as if every molecule in the room holds its breath. Kody sits at the front, hunched just a bit, his fatigue, fear, and hope etched into his face. The wives are placed strategically, each carrying the emotional baggage of days gone by. Christine's jaw clenched in tension, Robyn's eyes pooling with tears, Janelle's hands twisting nervously in her lap, and Meri's rigid stance, a storm brewing just beneath her calm exterior. The judge brings the session to order with a crisp strike of the gavel. Today, we will conclude testimonies and hear closing statements. He intones. His voice slightly echoes in the tense room. The court expects honesty, reflection, and accountability from all involved. Christine gives the first testimony of the day, her eyes scanning the room like an hawk assessing prey. Her voice is even but carries the weight of every heartbreak she has endured. "I have loved and trusted, but I have also been hurt deeply," she admits, pausing as a quiet tear escapes her eye. "I am here not to accuse blindly, but to make sure that the truth is seen, that the past is acknowledged, and that healing can begin, even if it begins with confrontation." Her words hang in the air, echoing like the sound of a bell, tolling for every unspoken moment of pain. Robyn follows, and the tone shifts slightly, softer, reflective, yet laced with a quiet strength. "I have struggled in silence, with fear, with loyalty tested at every turn," she says, "but I also know that honesty, no matter how painful, is the only path forward. We cannot fix what we cannot see." She looks briefly at Kody, searching for acknowledgement of some sort, a sign that her truth has been heard. Kody shifts in his seat, looking down, feeling the weight of each word, knowing this is both a devastating and crucial moment. Next up is Janelle, who steps forward with a quivering voice that finds strength with every sentence. "I have faltered," she admits, tears threatening to spill. "I have made mistakes that have hurt those I love most. But I am here to stand accountable, to speak my truth, and to try to mend what has been broken." The honesty in her voice, raw and unfiltered, reverberates through the room. It's a quiet but powerful moment that brings a pause to the high tension that has dominated previous sessions. Meri's testimony is calm, precise, yet emotionally charged beneath the surface. "I have watched loyalties fracture and promises broken," she says. "I have remained silent in hopes of peace, but silence has only allowed pain to grow. Today, I speak not to condemn, but to ensure that no further harm is done in the shadows of secrecy." Her eyes sweep across the courtroom, piercing, challenging, and yet full of the weight of sorrow. Kody stands to make his statement. His voice is low and weighted with the burden of responsibility. "I have tried, by every means I knew how, to keep this family together," he says, his voice shaking. "I have made mistakes, some grave, some inadvertent, but my intentions were always to protect, to love, to maintain unity. I can only hope now that honesty, transparency, and accountability can start the healing process." His words hang in the air, resounding in every corner of the room, leaving a silence so deep it almost hurts. The prosecution now delivers its closing statement in a measured, almost cold manner of authority. "This case has exposed the fault lines in a family that was once held to be unbreakable," the attorney says. "Secrets, hidden alliances, and private betrayals have been revealed, proving that even love and loyalty are not immune to human frailties. The court must consider not just the actions, but the intentions, the consequences, and the emotional toll of these choices." The defense follows, emphasizing context, perspective, and human complexity. "Mistakes do not define character," Kody's attorney argues. "This family is unconventional, yes, but love, intention, and resilience also define them. Today is about truth, yes, but it is also about understanding, forgiveness, and the possibility of moving forward." The final moments of the session are quiet, yet emotionally charged. The wives exchange glances, a mixture of lingering hurt, tentative understanding, and the faintest flicker of hope. Christine's eyes meet Robyn's for a brief, unspoken acknowledgement. Janelle sighs, releasing tension she didn't realize she was holding. Meri remains still, but the tight line of her jaw softens just slightly. Kody exhales deeply, shoulders sagging in relief, but the knowledge of the road ahead, of repair, of reconciliation, is clear in his gaze. The judge calls for a brief recess before the verdict, leaving everybody hanging in suspense. The room hummed with silent anticipation. Of course, everybody knew the forthcoming decision, while legally crucial, was only part of a much greater, ongoing emotional journey. Outside the courtroom walls, the world knew nothing of the intimate battles being waged there. But within them, every glance, every word, every unspoken thought had irreversibly changed the dynamic of their family. On reconvening to return the verdict, the wives sat together, apart, drained yet attentive. The judge read the decision carefully, detailing consequences of actions, evidence presented, and emotional impact on the family. Some let out a sigh of relief, some stiffened in shock, and others just sat quietly, processing the complexity that had unfolded. The camera lingered on small, intimate gestures. Christine, who rapidly blinked to hold back tears. Robyn, clenching her hands in silent determination. Janelle, who leaned a little toward Kody, a hint of tentative reconciliation. Meri, simply breathing slowly, her eyes distant yet reflective. Kody himself is all but invisible for a moment, overcome by the emotional gravity of the courtroom revelations and tentative paths forward. Finally, at the end of the session, the narrator reflects, "This family has been through the ordeal of exposure, confrontation, and truths previously kept in shadow. What's left is not perfection, but a chance to heal, to understand, and maybe over time, to forgive. Their story reminds us that even in chaos, love and accountability can coexist if only we have the courage to face the truth.